In 3, 2, 1. All right, shut up. We're here today, and the thing I'd like to start off by saying is that I'm very passionate about the idea that we should denormalize handedness. You know, I don't think we should go quietly into the night of just being good at everything with one hand. I don't know where it starts for you, maybe brushing your teeth, maybe, using a fork, but we need to start working on ambidextrous, across the nation, across the world. And what I mean by that is time once again for the Disney Podclassics. My name is Harrison. I brought the cornrows out for this episode specifically for Jay's liking, because with me, as usual, is my dear friend Jay, or the Duchess, as we like to call him. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I am terrible at observing. Like, someone could change skin color and I wouldn't notice that. I do, however, recognize that you now have cornrows and you did not turn on your video until you hit the record button. So let me just say I am aware and I see your cornrows, and I do find it very fitting for this podcast.
How do you feel about them?
I mean, if there was ever going to be a Disney movie with cornrows, it feels like it's the one set in Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it.
Yeah, no, it goes right.
And we both happen to be wearing Little Mermaid.
That's the thing, dude. I knew you were going to see that. That's why we should be doing this. And what we're doing to us and to others is very, very important. Critically, one might say. We grew up watching Disney films. It shaped who we were. It decided our values and our morals for us. And then me and Jay met each other in college and realized that both as adult men, we had not let go of that. So we spent a lot of time discussing, and then, you know what? Now we're almost 30 and it's time for us to go back and look through all these movies one by one in chronological order and see how they stack up. Now we've got a little bit of life under our belts. There's a little bit of, experience in the rows. So it's time to kind of see what these look like as aged, decrepit old men now. And we've gone all the way up to 1970, the Aristocats. And you already know I've got that bad boy on VHS. That's one of the, I mean, who didn't? Some people, but not people I like to hang out with.
All right.
Yeah. So, Jay, obviously we both had this one on VHS. How was this movie for you as like a child? What would you say? Was it a big one?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if our 3 or 4 listeners are aware of this, but
up to 3 now, I think.
We actually went down one from last week. Didn't like Jungle Book.
My mother, young Leo, and my cousin's wife, Meg. So thank you.
Exactly.
Your support.
The cousin's wife's husband, which is just your cousin.
Yeah, he stopped listening. Yeah, he stopped.
So I grew up with cats. And it was actually just one cat that we had, and then it died, and then we got another cat named Big Two. And God. Big Two lived with us in college with Harrison and I. Harrison hates Big Two. And anyway, I grew up being a cat guy, whether I wanted to or not. Since I was 4 years old, I had a cat.
Forced upon you.
Yeah, and I will say that for all the cat kids out there, especially boys, you do have to own it a little bit.
It sounds like such a shitty population. All the cat kids out there.
No, that's what I mean. Like, it's something that you're born with, and you got all of these people, and you want to be, cool when you're a kid, and having a cat sometimes isn't that. So Aristocats was our anthem. As cat kids. This movie was important. There was no way that you as a cat kid couldn't represent it, and it really was like a regime that I was under.
Now
have a dog. I have better perspective on everything.
Switch
I've seen both sides.
And
I will say that now looking back, this movie didn't really strike too well with me on this time, but I'll hold off on there. Harrison, what did you think as a kid, and then where are you at now?
Yeah, do you think that it has to do with being a dog person, or are we going to get into that?
No, I don't. I have very strong opinions that are coming your way in 30 seconds.
Come on.
I'm steaming.
For me, I'm Steven. For me, I loved this movie so much. I always found a lot of parallels between me and my sisters with the three cats. We each kind of had
I
one
could see that.
that made sense. I was Berlioz. My sister was a Tattletale, so naturally she was the Marie. And then what was the other one's name? The orange one? Fuck them, dude. Who cares?
No, I know. This movie, the characters do not stay with me at all.
Yeah. And yeah, I loved it. Obviously, this one's had some wear. Like, it's definitely been used and abused, but
yeah, mine too. I watched it a lot as a kid.
Okay, so I just looked into this, and there's a post-it note on here that I think my sister's written. It says, growing long hair, quality salon products, deep condition, avoid hot water, blow dry, fish oil, and avoid too much sugar and fat. So,
are you serious? That was just randomly in there?
It's just in there, taped to the inside of Aristocats. So that is so funny. Yeah, this time, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I wrote on my little sheet, do you like this movie? I just said, nah. Like, this one did not do it for me. I don't know what it's
shocked you're coming in with this. I thought for sure I'd be convincing you for an hour
that
this movie is not good. And the way I would summarize it, it's not the worst movie, the worst Disney movie.
Not even close.
Like I would put Fantasia.
Also no Fantasia,
I like a lot
which
least.
Is the best Disney
Sword
movie of all time.
It is not. It is not. Black Cauldron, I know we haven't got there yet, but I remember really disliking that movie. So it's not the worst one. It is the one that I'm most disappointed by.
It's a disappointment. It is, especially because we've just come from 101 Ds. Like, it just looks like they just phoned it in to me. I'm like, oh, let's just do that, but with cats and make it like worse. I don't know. And I would have thought, if you had asked me like a week ago before I'd watch it, I would have been like, dude, Aristocats is the best. Like, it's so good. What are you talking about? And I watched it. I was like, So
we watched this in college as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I felt like we didn't hate it then.
No.
Is it because of the order? Like, is it because of what we're seeing happen? Or
I think the order plays a major factor. But it also, watching them in order also plays a factor in the audience and how they watched it as well.
Totally.
Like, they watched 101 Dalmatians, then Jungle Book, and now Aristocats.
I think another element of it too is like, when you grew up on these movies, and our 4 listeners will understand, like, you have a certain level of nostalgia to it. So if you just take one off the shelf and watch it, you're going to be more inclined to be like, oh, this was a great movie. But when you're a professional like we are, and you're watching these for your job that you don't get paid for and also have other jobs, you realize, exactly. You end up seeing too many Disney movies in a short period of time comparatively. And so then you can actually see this for like, you know what, even compared to some of the ones we've just watched, this isn't good. So I think it's a bias. But what do you know about this movie?
It was very successful, which almost upsets me that it was very successful. Really big in Europe, in Great Britain, in France, in Germany.
Paris.
I believe in France and Germany, it was the most successful movie in 1970.
Germans were just looking for a distraction back then. They would have liked anything that was not about, the trials.
It's like 30 years after, but I like your version of Germany. Just
constantly
just writing little things in the VHS, like just bullet points.
Why Germany's still upset about
1970. That is hilarious that the trials would last like 25 years.
They just can't get out from under it.
But it was very successful. This movie was going to be a live action, part of the Walt Disney, the TV series that he had in the 50s, and then didn't happen. It was also going to be more emotional, and then they were like, oh, why don't we just make like a similar 101 Dalmatians style of adventure, which, again, they are noting that they tried to recreate 101 Dalmatians using cats. Unfortunately, it was financially successful, but for Disney fans, if you really analyze this movie compared to the ones that we're surrounded by, it is disappointing.
No, couldn't agree with you more, unfortunately. And I wish I was here to disagree. It's always fun when we fight, but like, I can't sit here and defend this movie like that. The things that I looked up were all one genre of things. The only thing I was interested in about this movie, and I mean, like I saw some background stuff. I don't care. What I do care about is conceptually this idea of a very rich mistress leaving inheritance to cats. My natural inclination was like, has that happened? Like, is that a thing? And it has. And I'm going to read you some stats that I found about different cases of some of the richest animals of all time. So one of them is named Tommaso. He was a street cat from the streets of Rome. He was 4 years old and was adopted and rescued by a lady, inherited $13 million.
What year is this?
Oh, who cares? I didn't look, so don't ask me. So also it gets a little bit sadder and more interesting. There's one lady who was like a real estate tycoon, and everyone called her the Queen of Mean. Like she was super mean, and her grandchildren were like disgraced, or they were estranged or whatever. And she like went passive aggressive and left $12 million to her dog, left them out of the will. And then they went and contested it and said she was a nut job when she wrote that will. So we should definitely get some. And they got like half, but the dog still kept $6 million of it, which is so good.
The hell.
And then there's two other ones
world.
that are kind of the same thing. Miles Blackwell was a publisher, I think. And this is sad. And I just hope you never get to this point. But he decided that there was no human he knew worth leaving his money to. So he left $10 million to his chicken named Jiju, I think. I think that's pronunciation. $10 million to a chicken.
But where does that money actually go?
I think a lot of times it's like they'll give all the money there and then like contract like cat charities to make sure that they're fed and like a song is played for them every night and that they're comfortable till the end of their life.
When they're done with that $20 to
chicken,
make that happen for a chicken, like what?
Dude,
what
I
about
would
the other 12
love
million?
if someone approached me and was like, I've got a bucket of cash. It's all for my chicken. If you'll just take care of this chicken, you can have all expenses paid and I'll also pay you a hefty fee. I'd be like, dude, I'm quitting my job. The wealthiest cat in the world was named Blackie, worth $25 million. $25 million to a cat. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all.
It actually helps the story a little bit. That
this is a
real
life situation. And you would think it was not. It is. And that's the hard hitting.
I didn't know that until 5 minutes ago.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
Well done.
Most of them are just like so rich they just can't deal with it, and they're just like, yeah, you know what, my cats. But like, imagining being a family member of one of them, and they're like, wait, so you're saying they left it all to Fido? Dude, talk about like at the bar at nighttime, like waxing about that. You're like, can you believe you left it to a chicken?
I hate chickens.
Yeah, you know what? Give me a chicken. That's what I want to eat right now.
Perfect.
You can't afford it, sir.
2 in a row.
Do you have anything else on this movie before we go into the chapters?
No, let's jump in.
Before we do, quick, just a word for our sponsor. Shout out to minors, really. You know, anyone under the age. No, I'm kidding. I'm talking about the ones that go into the caves and actually mine things, because really uncelebrated. Sometimes they get trapped. Probably still getting black lung. That hasn't changed much. The technology down there is pretty much the same as it was. And they just go down there and mine stuff. And that sounds hard. No one ever gives them some praise. And we really just can't believe that they found us as a group and have decided to sponsor our episode for the Aristocats. So big shout out to miners. And Jay, anything to say to them? Anything?
A lot. Yeah, actually, thankful for their headlamp to have found us on the web.
Nice.
In the October Sky, which I'm going to assume that you've seen.
Yeah.
Okay. That movie was so scary to me as a kid. The idea of being a miner is so scary. I'm claustrophobic.
Oh, yeah. For you, this is a nightmare.
Things collapsing on me is so scary. And when they go down in the elevator, for me, that's like the scene in Armageddon when they're going out to the spaceship. They are such heroes to go down there. Yeah. Every night. I'm so thankful that they're sponsors for this podcast.
And just sometimes you get, a check and you're like, oh, we got to shout them out. This is one of those ones that's right here, and I appreciate that. So, shout out to miners. Thank you so much for sponsoring the episode. Jay, why don't you take us into chapter 1?
Yeah. So we got the intro. You meet the cats. You get introduced to all the characters. George comes by talking with Madame. and you meet Edgar, and they're talking about the will, and Edgar can hear it from the other room, learns that the cats are going to get all the inheritance when she passes away. And then Edgar decides to go full Monty, create creme de la creme, and feed it to the cats. The cats pass out. He kidnaps them and drops them off and makes it back home. So my first question for you, was Edgar a really good butler / human up until that very point when he found out that, one, that there was that much inheritance, two, that Edgar actually had a chance to receive this because it seemed surprising to him, and then three, finding out it was going to the cats? Like, did we see the moment in his life where he was like a really good citizen and human and then switched to this? Or do you think he was a scumbag his entire life and just took advantage of this?
No, I think the first one wholeheartedly. I feel like this movie is mistakenly identified as a story about cats that get kidnapped and find their way back home. This movie is actually about the absolute decomposition of the mental state of what was a very good butler because of money and the severity of how crazy it is to learn that you're not getting any of that money. We just watched this man unravel. And I think you even watch him in the beginning. He's got a cat crawling over his face. He's composed. He's doing everything. You know, he knows there's money involved. It's just that tipping point where he finds out and all of it goes downhill. It's just like watching the Joker. It's like, oh, yeah, I see. And then he just descends into madness. That's what this movie's really about.
It's funny you say the Joker, because I was just thinking it's like Bruce Wayne giving all of his inheritance to the bats and not Alfred. And Alfred just goes insane, which would be a pretty good
Which would
story,
be actually a really good movie. Something we like the
it.
sequel is a Batman spinoff.
Alfred has all of Batman's technology and everything. It would be really cool.
And then Alfred kidnaps the bats and tries to ditch them somewhere. And there's just, it's a complete parallel to Aristocats the whole time. Yeah, dude, I think for sure it is the former. And well, I'll compound it by saying, well, I don't even know if it helps or hurts, but how much do you think butlers make today? Like, first off, butlers are still real. Didn't know that.
They are real.
In the US, in the United States of America, how much would you assume that butlers make on average annual?
I'm gonna assume very well, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because if a family is wealthy enough to afford a butler, they don't mind paying the butler quite a bit of money.
You think?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much, and obviously regions, but I think a very well-off life.
Okay,
like
well, I'll tell you.
They could support a family of four
sure.
off one butler's salary.
Sure, but it depends on what kind of quality of life you're talking about, because the average butler, and it depends on state for some reason. New York was the highest. I think Missouri or something was the least. $40K to $70K a year.
That's in New York?
Yep. In New York, it's $70K a year average. I'm sure there's exceptions, but that's what a butler makes.
Alfred, back to him, he's definitely making more.
Actually, let's just never leave him. Let's just make this about Alfred because it's better than this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can't believe Alfred took those cats, man.
I don't think I would be a butler for $70K a year.
No, I
was thinking, when you said that, I was getting vibes of like $300K up at least.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that.
Yeah, I think maybe like 200.
Yeah.
I could see them making that.
We should start a foundation for all the alley butlers in Paris and let them.
What the hell?
They're underrepresented, not as much as minors, but also butlers need to get their due because that's not easy. First initial thoughts of this movie. Obviously, a lot of 101D's, copy and paste. Really, like the intro, the stencil kind of drawings.
Yes. I
didn't notice until this time that like the animation, not to like put everyone on blast, but it's kind of shit. Like if you look at Madame Adelaide's face, like it just like it looks like sloppy
pencil
and
scratchings.
It's almost like when someone just does like that for everything. You're like, okay, like this was supposed to be a cartoon movie, but I don't know. I'm not a big, guy for that kind of thing. I don't really care, but if I notice it, that's saying something.
Yeah, it's like the cornrows. If I notice it,
then something's going on. I'm telling you what, man, it's a lifestyle choice. Yeah, Pickle Puss Edgar, dude, I felt for him immediately. Like when I was as a young as a young boy, when this scene was happening, I was like, what a dick, get over it. Why? And what an evil man. And then when I was putting myself in his position, listening on the phone, I was like, dude, I think I would go crazy. Like, that is bonkers. However, there is an easy solution to this, and it's just wait for her to die, kill the cats immediately. And then whoops, she doesn't know. No one will know what happened. You just get all the money right away. Say, yeah, I'll take such good care of these cats. Absolutely. Yeah. And then they're just gone. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Something happened.
That is a huge plot hole.
Like that is so easy.
Never even thought about.
What even would make him think that if the cats were gone, that she'd be like, well, I guess I'm just going to leave it all to Edgar. You know what she'd probably do? Get more cats, not being about to die. She's not about to die right now. Yeah. Get more cats and then extend his term. Like, that's a contract extension.
Yeah, that's such a good point. He had no end game.
No.
She would have got more cats. You're 100% right.
More very and younger. Point. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not into it. I felt like that was, but I did feel for the guy, and I was like, guy, you can't take too much off of Edgar here, because this is a shit situation for him. Like, you're a butler. You're making $40K a year in Paris to like wear that every day and like have cats claw your face. And he's a good butler, man. And they talk about it in the movie. Edgar loves us. He's so good to us, and I think he's on his shit, and then just snaps. That's what I thought.
And it's one of the only villains, it's definitely the only villain up until this point in 1970 that was started as a good character. Like, it wasn't obvious. They duped I'm not saying we can argue if he's a villain or not. That's or just the same person who went insane.
I was going to say, it's like when in a trial, when someone kills someone and then they get off because of insanity. I feel like he's off of his villain charges just because of pure breakdown, like emotional, like he should be locked up somewhere, because he's not a bad guy. He's not a villain. He's not inherently evil. He just lost he's just off that creme de la creme a la Edgar, man. Like, he's just off his head.
I wonder if you're a kid watching this, if for the first time, if it's surprising when Edgar becomes the bad guy.
It wasn't to me.
But no, when you're a kid, the first time you've seen it.
Yeah. I feel like you don't realize he's a normal guy beforehand, because it's so quick that he starts doing stuff.
Yeah.
And I just remember that's like, he must have been a slime ball.
It happens a lot later in Disney, but doesn't happen to this point that I thought Shere Khan was a good guy. It's very obvious who the villain is in every Disney movie up until this point.
I agree. And you know what? You can't knock him for inventing something that we referenced a lot of times in college, creme de la creme a la Edgar.
A lot.
Awesome thing. Whenever we were going out on the night, saying, dude, I'm going off that creme de la creme a la Edgar, man. Let's have a night tonight. Absolutely.
And it could be anything. It could be like the leftover milk in Cheerios, and we'd be like creme de la creme.
I was thinking, if you wanted to make a melatonin-based drink at nighttime, calling it creme de la creme a la Edgar would be so good.
Your sister has sent us a text. This was 4 or 5 years ago, just popped in my head, of a cook who made creme de la creme, did the recipe and showed it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's so true.
So the fact that exists makes the world go round.
I think so too. Quick hot take, and then we'll move on to chapter 2. Do you think Madam was sexy when she was younger? Because part of me feels like she might have been like a lady of the night even. How'd she get her money?
She could be a little
mistress of sorts.
She might have been like a Corella-ish,
like a fashion empire.
Maybe.
I definitely think her and
George.
A lot of fashion. There's a lot of sexual tension, but in that scene with George that I didn't realize when I was a kid. But they definitely used to rack like 100%. Not even a question.
Yeah,
George.
Yeah, they probably did. Yeah, she's a beautiful woman.
I think she looks like she could have
been by Meryl Streep in the live action.
I feel like she could be Cinderella grown up. Like, I could see her looking like Cinderella as a younger woman. Person.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. Anything else in chapter 1 before we move on?
No, let's jump.
Yeah, this chapter, I'll say, as a total, it just kind of dragged. Like, there was multiple times where I was like, move on. Yeah. So let's do that. We'll go into chapter 2. And how about I just take us away? They've just been catnapped. They meet O'Malley, an alley cat who's just got, savoir faire, but not in the Oliver Company sense. They kind of coagulate, and they're going to go back to Paris. He's going to get him on a magic carpet. It's a truck. He stops the truck. And then they're kind of making their way. Once they get caught, he rescues Marie from falling in the river. Then he's rescued by some geese. You meet Uncle Waldo. It's these two English, geese. And then Edgar is celebrating, which actually is another kind of interesting character arc, celebrating his crime's publicity, getting a taste for, the demon inside, and decides he needs to go back and get his hat and his umbrella or things that he's left at the scene of the crime. So we'll end it there. My question to you is, speaking of college and being off that creme de la creme a la Edgar, did Uncle Waldo just bring back like a triggering college memory for you of just that guy in the streets who's just like screaming just for the sake of being drunk and screaming?
Yes, of course.
I was wondering if that was just me.
No. Let's just do it now. Uncle Waldo and the geese. Okay. Here,
oh my gosh.
One step back. So you got Napoleon and Lafayette.
Yeah, Lafayette.
Dogs,
good one.
Right?
Yeah, good.
And I'm watching them and I'm thinking, is this the least liked duo in Disney history for me / least liked characters?
There is nothing I like about them.
15 minutes later, you hit the geese combined with Uncle Waldo. And in this one chapter, it's 5 of the top 10 for me in Disney history.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I spent so much time thinking, wow, which characters I like
do I dislike
less?
More? Yeah.
It's definitely the geese, though.
Really?
I have decided on that. Yeah. And Uncle Waldo is kind of the exclamation point to it all.
Oh, man.
That Uncle Waldo is such a piece of crap character.
Yeah.
Disney never really used alcohol like this before, of like this overtly like drunk humor.
Just hammered. That's like what the humor is based on.
Which ironically was sloppy. It's not good humor. It's not funny.
It made me uncomfortable as a child. It made me uncomfortable now.
Yes. And what upsets me about the making of this movie is, that they were in the board meetings thinking, oh, we have our comedy with these dogs that are not funny, these hound dogs.
Yeah.
And the geese and Uncle Waldo check the box for comedy. And we spend so much time with these characters that in my mind are bombing stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
And it's so uncomfortable. And there's characters that I like maybe even less than them, but they at least have a purpose.
Yeah,
these characters were made to make us laugh, and I was not there for it.
Go off, Jay. I'd love to see you get riled up like that.
I just had to get that off.
Yeah. Do you feel better? Can we breathe? When I was a kid, and I wonder if it was similar to you, I did not at all make the connection that he was drunk. I just thought he was an eccentric character.
Yeah, I did too.
Idea. Yeah,
I didn't know he was drunk.
I didn't like him then, but I didn't realize. And then more layers on the alcohol thing, that he was being prepared for a dinner and was marinated in white wine or something. And that's interesting too, because he's not like an actual like alcoholic, but it's like happened to him. But just the entire scene made me wonder, like, why did like that happens? It's loud, it's like whatever, and then they just go off and are never seen again, to my recollection.
No, yeah, they are never seen again.
It's a weird thing for Disney to go down the avenue of let's do alcohol-based humor. Alcohol is not that cool, Disney. Stop.
Yeah. And for those listening on audio, Harrison just took a sip of his whiskey.
That was actually a really good little voice you did there. There's one moment which I actually really enjoyed, and it's when they're discussing with O'Malley and they say, "Oh, your husband." He says, "I'm not her husband." She's like, "Oh, you are, you aren't." And they're saying, "Oh, he's so handsome and so like devilishly, cute and whatever." And he says he's not her husband, and they just immediately start ripping on him. It's like, well, he's got crooked eyes. It's kind of an ugly looking thing. And like, it's just so funny how like hard they go the opposite direction. That actually is funny. Everything else kind of sucked. And I couldn't tell, like, as a kid, I didn't know if were they flirting with him and now I realize they weren't, but maybe just as a young child, I was just looking for that shit, shout out to minors. There's another question I have for you. A couple trivias, actually. In O'Malley's intro, he's singing, he says something about showing off my eclat.
But them city streets showing off my eclat. Yeah.
Any idea what eclat means?
No. I don't.
Brilliant display or effect. Didn't realize that. And let's do something easier. I wonder, maybe it's easier. Can you give me O'Malley's full name? It's said a few times.
No, I enjoy that song.
Yeah,
I enjoy that song actually, but I do not know the lyrics. I'm always
you can't get any of it. There's
of
4
Thomas
names.
O'Malley.
That's all.
It's like I'm gonna say Ebenezer, but it's not. It's
Close.
like
Abraham. Abraham DeLacy, Giuseppe Casey, Thomas O'Malley.
I've never said that in my life. I've never nailed that lyric.
Well, come to the dark side. Question mark for you on O'Malley. There's a point where he's deciding whether or not to abandon this group that he's just found. There's a fly and it's very small.
All right.
And he
just like a huge fly just sits down next to you.
Yeah, it just gets on my shoulder.
Huge.
Yeah. So he says, he's like thinking about it and he goes, come to think of it, O'Malley, you're not a cat, you're a rat, right? And then he decides to go with these children. What the hell did that mean?
And he looked at the camera when he said it as well. It is a really weird moment.
Well, I don't even
Thomas
understand.
O'Malley.
Yeah, what's the point? Like, what did that even mean? I don't see the dots connected there. And I was wondering if you did.
Well, I mean, the dots for me, it goes back to it's about 80% watered down 101 Dalmatians with 20% Lady and the Tramp.
Wow, that's actually a really good.
And the Tramp and Thomas O'Malley are very similar in that sense, where it's like, I think they actually do it better in Lady and the Tramp, though, where the Tramp is fighting this like wild lifestyle and trying to be more tame for Lady. And Thomas O'Malley, it's like he comes off as this suave character, but is very quickly a family-oriented guy.
You don't ever see any evidence to the fact, other than what he says and sings about.
At the very beginning.
Yeah.
And he like, as soon as he says like, you're not a cat, you're a rat, he falls in love with the kids and
immediately them. And is never looking back.
Exactly. It's not like a character development thing. It ends as quickly as it starts.
Yeah, very confusing. Well, I do wonder, and maybe, I mean, you obviously be able to shed some light on this, but he does sing what I think is a kind of a nice song, which you don't remember any of the lyrics to. Mm-hmm. Is there a chance that I could, I know you're busy, but tap you for a sweet, sweet segment I like to call Music Time with Jay, the part of the podcast where Jay talks about some of the songs and their real life applications?
Happy to, Harrison. Only because of the cornrows.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So thinking about the music of Aristocats and specifically the Thomas O'Malley song that he sings, sometimes it gets stuck in my head and it's just kind of a nice tune. Kind of has like a New York style to it, a little Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And I was thinking commercial. You have these men in suits looking phenomenal, and it ends up being an ad for a clothing store, like a Men's Warehouse.
Okay.
And as they're showing different clips, the O'Malley plays, and then and then at the it's O'Malley.
Oh, like O'Malley's is the name of the store.
Yes.
Oh, that's sick.
And inside every coat is a stitching of the animated character in orange.
Dude, I'm going to make the logo and I'm going to put it up on the screen around now. And I love that idea. I might even try and figure out how to put it on a jacket just to show our 4 listeners what that looks like. Yeah. I love that. That's so good.
It'd be like, someone walks in like, oh, snap. Is that an O'Malley suit?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
But it actually blows my mind that wouldn't be a thing. Not necessarily the Aristocats connection, but like O'Malley's suit sounds like a thing already.
I know.
That's brilliant. That is Music Time with Jay if I've ever heard it. Thank you so much. One last thing before we go to chapter 3. It's just I want to put us both in the position of imagining you're a truck driver and your job is to go from Paris to Lyon. You have a carton of milk that you're carrying and nice open country road. You've been driving for about 6-7 hours. Maybe it's even your second day of driving. And then from a tree, a cat jumps onto your windshield and just freaks out. That guy, I did never realize how That's so out of nowhere. I never even conceptualized the idea when I'm driving. I hope a cat doesn't jump on my windshield right now. And like the fact that he didn't crash, amazing.
It is impressive. You're right, actually.
Sacre bleu. I love it. Which actually means damn it. I looked up. Sacre
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I've known the phrase many times, but
I have a little bit more geese content actually.
Bring
I looked up
more geese
least favorite characters in Disney history. I just was curious if Abigail and Amelia showed up on that list.
These are the right searches to be doing. I think
they did not, by the way. But this top 10, like the first top 10 that you find, Mushu was number 5.
Fuck off.
And my heart hurt so bad seeing that. It was like when Yoda senses that a Jedi died. Like I dropped my cane. I was so hurt by seeing number 5.
No, dude, that's Mushu. Not even. That's not a.
It's crap. It's
that's not a thing. It's like if I just wrote down the best movies and then flipped the title and said worst movies in Disney. Like that doesn't mean it's true. I just put it on the internet. Don't listen to that, Jay. Don't.
Yeah, no. I just had to share.
What are some of the other ones that were up there? Like, was the other parts of the list
number 1 was the Finding Nemo character Daria.
Oh, Darla,
the girl with the braces.
Yeah.
Darla,
I get that. She's not.
Yeah. Toy Story 3, that bear.
The big. Oh,
Hugzo,
so like people you don't like. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He is a piece of crap character.
Yeah, like you don't like him, but this is not like.
Obviously, we haven't got there yet, but
it's intending to like someone and not liking him. That's what I'd be more interested in. So, like, would they wanted you to like him? And you're like, no.
Yeah. Or
geese would be up
Are
there.
any of these characters worse than the Lost Boys from Peter Pan, which is the only low that I can compare with the movies we've seen?
I feel like I want to say yes, but I know I'm being dramatic. You know what I mean? Like the dogs are not cool. I don't hate the geese so much. At least it's short. The Lost Boys are throughout. But if I had to spend time with one or two of the groups, there's no chance I'm choosing the Lost Boys. Are they better or worse than the clowns from Dumbo?
Oh, I'll take the clowns from Dumbo over both of those.
The geese?
No, it's not the character themselves, like hanging out with them for a long time. It is watching 10 minutes of a comedian bombing versus 2 minutes with like the clowns and with the Lost Boys.
That's a good point.
The dogs have 2 separate full scenes. That second time that you see them is 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
Which is so long in a Disney movie. And it's
egregious.
And it's not funny. And it does not advance the plot at all.
I feel like
I need the hat and the umbrella.
Yeah, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
It's not like there's even like in a police investigation that it comes in handy for or something. Like, who cares? I think we should make that list top 10 because you know who else I just thought of that would be on there? That fuck kid who pulls Dumbo out from the mom.
Oh, I mean, he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
That's like that's different. Yeah, that's different.
Maybe it is, but I'm just saying we could probably come up with some good ones,
that gets a piece of crap.
We should look into it. Maybe we'll do a little side off.
Dude, Peter Pan wasn't too far off.
Peter Pan would be a good one too.
Actually, no one likes on my list favorites.
Jiminy Cricket could be up there.
Jiminy Cricket could be.
Yeah.
And it's going to surprise you if you haven't seen Pinocchio in a long time.
Yeah, go back and
watch
listen
Jiminy.
To our listen. Yeah, don't crucify us yet. Watch Jiminy or watch him not do anything. Okay, anything else? Any other geese content before we move on to chapter 3?
No, keep going.
Damn it. Okay, so once, I forget where we left off. Oh, he's getting the hat back. You go and you meet the Scat Cats, all of O'Malley's friends. He takes them to his pad. And then after the night, they have a fun night of dancing. Everybody wants to be a cat. And then essentially they have like a rooftop chat where Duchess dangles, herself in front of him and says, oh, I'd love to clean up your apartment. And, my kids need a father. And he's like, yeah, I could do that. And then she's like, actually, never mind. I got to go back to my human. And he's like, don't. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to. And that's that. So then they go back the next morning. They have a big fight with Edgar when he realizes they're back. Edgar gets locked into a chest and sent off to Timbuktu. And then Madame Adelaide realizes that the cats are back. She's so excited that she's going to start a foundation for all of the alley cats in Paris. And the movie ends. They keep Thomas O'Malley. It's pretty much end of Lady of the Tramp. right here.
Yes.
Yes. So much here and also nothing at all. But my question has nothing to do with this movie. It's just more this fight scene. How many cats do you think you could fight off? Like to the death, like before you died? I asked Dale this question too. I'll wait to tell you.
I would love to hear Dale's answer.
That was good.
I'm very excited about that. A couple of cats that just really want to mess you up, you're going to be in trouble.
Really though?
Dude, a cat?
How is it killing you?
Kill is different.
No, like it's a fight to the death. It's how many cats do you think you can take before you die, essentially? House cats, not like, one puma will just ruin your life.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
20 lions.
I think 20.
Okay.
Like so 20 angry cats in a small area, you're going to get messed up.
You're going to get messed up, but I don't think they kill you. I asked Dale this question and I wasn't looking at him. We were both watching the Aristocats. I go, how many cats do you think you could fight? And he paused for a long time. He just goes,
I don't think that there's a number. I think it's kind of unlimited. I mean, I would be scratched to hell, but I think it's unlimited.
I think
that's
fight
an answer too,
all of the cats. So I knew you'd have some bullshit answer. I still don't think 20 is even slightly reasonable. You could that's like you punching or kicking 20 times and you're out of it. Let me ask you this, just to highlight how everyone doesn't want to be a cat.
I'm a cat guy. I can't.
50. Okay, you have to fight either 50 cats or 5 dogs. Which would you pick?
Oh, 50 cats.
Yeah, you'd pick 50 cats. Yeah, for sure. What about 50? What about 100 cats or 5 dogs? I feel like 5 dogs could just
5 dogs. This is very similar to the classic Jurassic. I say classic. I just think this in my head. In Jurassic Park, 1 T-Rex, 4 or 5 raptors, all of those baby
things. It is like that.
Things that kill Newman.
That classic thing Jay thinks about. I love that though, and I think about that a lot too. And I'll tell you what the T-Rex is, and I have a third option onto this. So let's say it's like 70 cats is relatively equal to 5 dogs. I don't know how they're going to kill you, but maybe they could. Or would you rather fight 70 cats, 5 dogs, or 1 horse to the death?
What's a horse going to do to fight? What's an angry horse do?
Dude, it can bite you. It can kick you. If it kicks you, you're dead pretty much. Like if it gets a good kick on you.
I'm aware of that. I've been bit by a horse, actually. Story for right time.
Maybe a story for right now. What are you talking about?
I was on a horse and another horse next to me was upset with that horse and just leaned over and bit through my khakis. And I had a welt on my leg. We were on the beach. It was like a beautiful day in Northern California. And I screamed, Jesus, fuck. And everyone in the tour completely stopped. Some people were smiling. And I completely panicked seeing a horse just come at me.
Oh, my God. That's so funny. So with that
I would not choose horse.
Yeah.
I'd still choose cats, I think. It's a good question. You've made me come around. I would still choose 70 cats.
Cats aren't super dangerous, but they work over. I mean, with the help of a horse, they work over Edgar.
Let's just talk about this journey for Aristocats. I would like the audience, if you haven't seen it in a while, or even if you just watched it, pause this after I say, what of their journey stands out to you as highlights? Like, what do you remember other than the beginning of it and the end? Pause it now. Think about it. My point is, it is
welcome back.
Such a boring journey back home.
Yeah.
They have the milkman thing. The train almost hits them, which sounds dramatic, but wasn't at all.
Not at all. Just
O'Malley jumps in the river. They find the geese. They find Uncle Waldo. They meet the scat cats. The song happens and they're home. But think about like something like 101 Dalmatians, how much of a journey that felt. Being at the mansion, going through the ice and the snow, and meeting the cows.
The Labrador part.
And I have some ideas that I think would really improve. And I want to hear which ones would stay and which ones I should
Oh my
scrap.
God. Yeah, this is
Cat.
awesome.
Yeah, you ready?
Scrap cat. Let's do it.
So I do like the idea of the river scene, but what if they were all on like different pieces of wood going down the river together and trying to all kind
figure out
manage
how to get
together?
back together. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like a fun Mario Party game.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said.
Exactly. Yeah, we're sick.
Yeah.
And then they find a boat, and somehow O'Malley can drive this like little dinghy boat around, and they make it back to Paris in the boat. Okay.
How is he driving the boat? You lost me there.
He knows how to drive a little motor
he's got
thing
like one
on
of
the
those
bottom.
like thing. Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't take much.
It'd be cool. It would actually help his character if he could like smack an engine in a weird way and it would start up. You're like, this guy might be a little bit of a tramp. I see.
Yeah, exactly. So then they get to Paris and they show up at a amusement park.
Okay.
And they're at the amusement park, and there's all these different things happening, and they're having like the best day, these cats. And then that's pretty much instead of the scat cat whole scene.
Yeah.
But then they come across a haunted mansion.
What
in the
is
amusement
this?
park.
Okay, go on.
Okay, stay with me.
I am.
They come through the haunted mansion. And there's goblins and zombies and stuff. And the cats get scared. And then they realize, you know what? This was a really fun day. Loved the amusement park, but we do want to go home.
Oh.
I just think that there could have.
That's
Edgar's
a better movie, I think.
Edgar's not a villain. And they need. I think this movie could do really well with having one of those like, oh my gosh, that scene was so scary in Snow White or Black Cauldron or Sleeping Beauty. Like, I think this movie needed something that actually jolted you, because it feels just like a casual drinking a glass of wine, but you're not enjoying the characters or the ride that much.
God,
there just need to be more excitement and highlights in their journey home, because it is so boring.
I would rather watch that movie than this one again, to be honest. I think you've actually done a very creative and thorough job there.
Thank you.
Speaking of sipping a glass of wine, I wanted to talk very briefly at the end of the movie when they're running back. They pass Roquefort is chasing the alley cats, and they pass a man who is at a Parisian diner of sorts, cafe, and he's drinking wine and he's dressed in all purple, and he sees them and says, oh, I must be going crazy, pours out his wine as if, a little nod to the humor. It's more alcohol, or a little nod to the adults, more alcohol humor. Do you think that's supposed to represent anyone famous? What did you think of that guy? Did you notice him more this time? It
has to, right?
Like it could be like Van Gogh or something.
I never figured out who it was. I've looked this up before, but it's such an obvious
I tried to look it up. It
just seems like a cameo.
It seems like a cameo. And here's some things I'll say about it. One, what a phenomenal Halloween costume that would be.
Oh my gosh.
And if you met someone who knew it, man or woman, marry them. Who knew that. They're like, are you the guy in Aristocats who pours out his wine? That one scene, you're just like, well, yeah, you get the purple beret, the purple trench coat, the, goatee, whatever. Secondly, something I would like to sequel. I don't know if you're into it, but I'm talking about a short film, like a Disney short almost, of that guy's day leading up to that moment at the end. And it's for adults, not for children, about like maybe him struggling with like alcoholism or like being a failed painter or something, like his wife leaving him or something. And then that's the thing that sets off his like cleaning up his act. And maybe you get like a minute or two after, where like down the line, he's like a very successful, like, giving a TED talk or something. I think it'd be such an interesting nod if we could just tie that into one little.
It's like a Pixar short.
Exactly. But like for adults.
Yes. I really like that.
Thank you.
Way to run, take an inch and run the mile with it.
Yeah, it really was just an inch. There was not much of that guy. And you're probably not even thinking, I will put him on the screen, but like, you don't know who I'm talking about until I do.
No, that's great.
So other thing I'd like to talk about, Edgar definitely is murdered in this movie. 100%.
Yeah. He's not making it.
Like, I didn't realize that. First off, Timbuktu, because of this movie, represented the farthest place away ever in wherever I was. Timbuktu is like the farthest. I even thought for a short period of time that it was an expression for the farthest place away in the world. I thought like all the way to Timbuktu. I thought that was something you just said, like, it's like a thing that's not even real. But getting into a locked crate to I think it's Africa. Is Timbuktu in Africa or is it in Russia?
No, it's Africa.
Yeah, he's dead, and they're going to find that dead body in a crate when it's delivered to whoever. Well, I mean, I don't know how he knows an address in Timbuktu, but there's going to be an investigation, and they're going to think that the madame did it because they're not going to be like, maybe it was the cats and the horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to think that she offed her butler or someone offed her butler, maybe George. Someone's going to jail for this, I bet, when they get back to the jurisdiction or something.
It's true. And Edgar's such a nice guy.
And he was such a nice guy.
They would actually be found guilty. You're
yeah,
right.
He would actually be painted as a hero. He'd be like, devoted butler, murdered in cold blood, body shipped to Timbuktu by his evil mistress. And like, she might lose all of her money. Those cats might not even have a dime once she dies.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Edgar deserves that either.
No.
I think a lot of times when villains...
He should lose his job.
Yeah, he should lose. Yeah, that's a great point. He should lose his job.
He should lose his job. At the end of the day, these are cats.
Die.
And he easily could have just been like, I'm going to kill these cats and then throw them in the garbage can. Like he dropped them off so that they wouldn't come back.
Unbeknownst to him.
But not death. Like they killed him in this movie. That's weird to me. He's definitely dead. And I never picked up on that when I was a child. I was never like, that's his last days. That story is not over at all. And actually, I'd kind of like another adult short of the allegations that come from the discovery of Edgar's body, to be honest.
Oh, I'm in.
There's a return address. You know what I mean? He shipped it from that place. They'll go right back there and be like, hey, so I want to talk about the package you shipped. Empty trunk, dead body, dead butler. Oh, you used to work here for years. That's weird. Oh, you're writing your will. That's weird. You killed him off. Didn't have to give anything to him. I don't know. Do you have anything else in this chapter? Or do you want to move to the last point I have here?
Let's move to the last point.
I just want to talk about the end of the movie. It's kind of 101 Dalmatians. Actually, is 101 Dalmatians. 101 Dalmatians. The end is we're going to keep 100 puppies. This movie is she's going to start a foundation and have her home be a home for all the alley cats of Paris.
Yeah.
Now let that sink in because that is one of the worst ideas I've ever heard a human have. Alley cats are not kind. The scat cat, if they're musicians, they are. Which what if they could actually play music in Paris? Like what if that was like a thing? Like the cats in Paris, they play instruments. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It travels incredible. You go see the musical cats. But how much would you need annually to run that house? Because I know you're a bit of a cat guy.
No, but cat pee
is so bad.
If you don't really have much experience with it, like you really
don't want to get some.
I would rather live in a small apartment without cats than live in the mansion with all of the
alley cats of Paris. Paris has a lot of alleys. I've seen there's cats. All of them is so many. The house is potentially big enough to have them like be the carpet, but like how much would you need? Like if I offered you like $3 million a year and you're just like, I have to get over the cat pee thing, would you do it?
Can I just never be home?
These cats need to be taken care of. You have like work to do. There's like thousands of them. You could find out like pretty good systems to like a trough or something.
I think I'm opting out of all this. I don't even.
And that should tell you
million.
For $3 million, if we're not willing to do that, this is the dumbest ending of any movie I've ever seen. Which is like, and it'll be a home for all the alley cats of Paris. That's like something a 3-year-old girl writes in her journal. Like someday I want to have a house for all the cats in the world. Like this is a successful, financial tycoon who's decided to ruin the last years of her life. Did her and George get together, you reckon?
Yeah, I think they do. And also one other random point that I forgot to mention, this movie doesn't feel like it's set in France. Pretty much the whole movie. It's the most like stereotypical French like stuff, like the sacre bleu and the music. But this movie has no culture to it to make you feel like you're in this other world. Even
the accents that they have are like British or like American. Like no one besides Duchess, whose voice is Hungarian because it's the war. Like there's nothing about it. And apparently they had something. They had something that they took out of this movie because they thought it would be too French, like another song or one of the characters was French or whatever. And they're like, oh no, it'd be way too French. It's set in Paris. Lean in.
Lean in. And if they did this now, it would be so different.
They'd be crucified for this.
Like Ratatouille, they would have really dove into this movie.
Yeah.
And the culture and everything. But this feels more like New Orleans than Paris.
100%. It's almost Paris should have been offended by like, what? How is this us?
I know, but they loved it.
The places are there. Like you see some fun, like, oh, there's, Notre Dame. Like, that's so cool. But other than that, should not have been in Paris. You're exactly right. Like, or at least lean in is my thing.
Yeah. Don't half-ass it.
Come on. Don't have Aristocats it.
Perfect.
So let's move to our favorites, unless you have anything else.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Favorite song for me was Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, because to me, that's like the best song, I suppose. Was yours that, or was it the O'Malley song?
It's technically the O'Malley song, but there's no winners in these categories. Like someone had to win, but it's the
I'm going to tell
song.
you something. This is just a little thing about Dale, my stepfather. He has a story. He was born in Canada. I'm going to try and make this fast. His mom put him in figure skating. And he had a competition once when he was like, let's say 13, 14, a figure skating competition. And no one showed up except for him. And he did so poorly that they didn't give him the gold medal. They said, like, you did it, but it's not good enough to win. And so they like gave him second place, and he was the only one.
Oh my gosh. If I was him, I would remember this as well.
He like, I didn't know about it for like years after knowing. It was like, one time. Favorite
Dude,
character.
come on, Canada.
Yeah,
give Dale the medal.
Can you
What the
imagine
hell?
that now? No one, you could never do that now.
Yeah, everyone
Absolutely
gets
not.
golds just
just for being there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only person at the competition does his performance to say, not good enough. Not first place. That's for sure.
Poor Dale.
So good. My favorite character was Roquefort by a long shot. The Winnie the Pooh mouse.
Yep.
Is my guy for sure. What about you? Did you
O'Malley?
say O'Malley? Yeah, he's a good one. Favorite scene?
I don't really have one. I mean, that's when I really started realizing I did not like this movie. I guess it's when O'Malley gets introduced. I think there's some interesting stuff there, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm sad about how much we don't like this movie. I wish I could.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Are we just in a bad place right now? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. My favorite is when Roquefort
I thought I was, but hearing you actually makes me feel better.
And I feel like we've put up good points. If you disagree with us, contact us and tell us why. Like, I'd love to hear someone who can argue this movie well. Love to have that discourse. But right now, my favorite scene is when he goes and talks to the alley cats, Roquefort, the mouse. And, oh, we didn't mean to ruffle you, Squeaky. Like, I thought that was kind of funny. Like, I just liked that mouse, and more of him was fine. Favorite quote?
It's pure O'Malley, baby.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, did it bother you that he was not Lil Jon? I mean, will be, but
yes,
Phil Harris, like he was
Phil Harris.
Blue.
This was my question actually to you. When you hear Phil Harris's voice, do you think of Baloo, Lil Jon, or O'Malley? Like, what's your ranking if you just were to hear that voice?
I think it would go Baloo, Lil Jon, O'Malley.
Me too.
Yeah. And it's not the order of my favorite either. I would prefer it to be Lil Jon, but I think for me, he is Baloo. And then you're like, oh yeah, he's also Lil Jon. But then you're like, oh yeah, he's also O'Malley.
Well, yeah, Phil Harris was a musician as well. So it's really weird to have the same voice be in 3 straight Disney movies. It's like Bruno Mars being voiced in 3 straight Disney movies. Like, why do we keep listening to Bruno Mars?
I don't like that. I don't like it.
I don't either.
I've heard people say that's a good thing. Like, oh, it's so fun because, and in Robin Hood, all the the bunnies are the voices of these 3 little cats. And like, I just saw a Jungle Book guy was the like one of the vultures. I'm pretty sure was I didn't confirm this, but was definitely one of the cats, not the incredibly racist Asian one, but the one with the glasses. Totally, like, they just swap it. Like, get more people. I don't agree with that personally. My favorite quote was an Edgar special. There are 1,000 reasons why I should, all of them dollars. Which I thought millions. I thought that was funny, and like I could use that. I believe, like if I was, that's a good. I don't want to take care of these, Parisian street cats, but there are 3 million reasons why I should, all of them dollars.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Worth a rewatch. This is tough for me. I have meh, and yes, but I'd be curious. Is it worth a rewatch?
I'm going to say no on all of them.
I'm going to say
I don't
no.
want people to be disappointed. And it's okay if you haven't seen this one.
I disagree with you on the last one. I don't think it matters if you haven't seen it. I don't think you'll love it. If you love cats, maybe. Like if you're like a big cat girl now, cat guy now, would you like this movie just because it's about cats? Maybe. But I don't think you need to see it personally. But I would say you should show your kids. Kids should grow up on this movie because I loved this movie as a child.
I did too.
And actually, if I hadn't returned to it, I think I would have just taken that and enjoyed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. Okay, let's move into our playground pick'em. Jay, why don't you explain what we're going to be doing?
Yeah, so in the original script, Edgar was going to have a female butler or maid as well. That was going to be another villain, and they ended up scrapping it because it was going to be too complicated of a storyline, which was the quote. So if Edgar did have a partner villain, a Jasper to the horse.
Oh yeah.
A Jafar to the Iago.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm gonna just keep doing this.
Yeah.
What would be the two characters? Okay, we'll do a draft. We'll snake the draft.
Okay.
And it'll be a total of 3. So Edgar and 2 other villains from Disney. Who would you pair Edgar with? I will give you first pick.
Wow. I know you know who I'm going to go with, but there is literally,
I don't.
Pick 100 guesses on who I'd go for second pick. I just thought of it. And there's no way you'd ever guess it. Okay. My first pick is definitely Cruella. 100%. I want Cruella and him. It's the dog side. It's the cat side. They're almost running an evil, kill all of the animal pets empire. And I think that's funny. I think Edgar as a natural butler would probably be a little bit submissive to Cruella, but at the same time handle Biz in a way that Jasper and Horace kind of couldn't. And I think they'd have nice moment. I think that'd be a good dynamic. So I'm going to say Cruella is my first pick. How do you feel like that'd go?
I do like that, actually. I think that it's a really good pick. I'm a big Cruella fan, and I think they would have a good dynamic.
Yeah, I could see them having whiskey or something in like a very nice room, laughing about their exploits, having fun, and he's all very proper and she's kind of loud and American, and I think it'd be a nice dynamic. I actually would love to see them at a cocktail party talking to each other even. So I'm gonna go with that. What's your pick?
I like this. I'm going to go land version of Ursula.
Oh wow. I thought Ursula, and I was like, oh, I guess the tentacles would get in the way, but land
they will not get in the way in my crew. Ursula and Edgar are both very plotting, mwahaha. They have a similar style.
They
that
revel
I think
in their
would actually
darkness.
Work well together of them planning. And Ursula's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
She could actually do a song and make this a memorable movie.
Why would she care though?
Why would she care?
Money. She wants the money.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. She wants the crown.
Okay. That's fair. That's a good pick. And it was my initial thought when we talked about it.
That's funny.
Definitely Ursula, but I was like, oh, I guess I didn't think I could adjust her to land, but I'm totally okay with you doing that. Okay. This one's going to surprise you. My second pick to round out my trio. I don't even remember his name.
Whoa.
It's the villain from Oliver and Company.
Oh,
the mob boss.
Oh,
with the 2 dogs.
Man. Yeah.
I think he's the kingpin looking for. Yeah, the guy with the cigar. He's the kingpin behind the money grab operation. Maybe mafia, ties. But I feel like Cruella and him. I think Cruella and Edgar would both be kind of afraid of him, and he'd be like the guy. But they would both have a fun little tandem friendship on what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But then there'd also be times where Cruella was trying to kind of be his equal and but he's just so much scarier than both of them. And I think he'd just be out for the money saying, here's what the plan's going to be. And then she's like, it's marvelous, brilliant, darling. And Edgar's like, oh, yes,
I would love to see that table.
Yeah. I just think basically it.
You need personalities to just ransack Edgar.
Yeah.
You need Edgar to be the third wheel.
He's the third wheel.
Yeah.
And they made him the first wheel. So that's my
really,
trio.
really good choice.
Thanks,
on both
man.
of them.
I appreciate that.
The first time that I thought of this question, I can't get him out of my head. Iago.
Oh wow!
I would
Just
really
for like color
enjoy.
commentary.
Yes, because I want color commentary on this story and just like making fun of all this and criticizing
Oh
them.
yeah, dude.
And yeah, a Yago just killing those dogs just
What
of
about
how
like
stupid they are.
What about like an evil Mushu?
Have you seen Mulan 2?
No, but we'll do
It didn't work well in Evil Mushu.
He was evil Mushu?
Yeah, he tries to split up Shane in Mulan.
Oh my god.
It's terrible.
Okay. Yeah,
And Mulan 2 is really, really
sucks
bad.
is we're
and
gonna
we'll
end
get
up
to it.
having to watch that. Yeah,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we're gonna rip on some sequels eventually. I feel like we're gonna just go to town.
I have a soft spot for sequels. Be careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the guy's name. Is it Sykes? Sykes?
Yeah,
Is that his name?
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So mine's Sykes, Cruella, and Edgar, and yours is Land, Ursula, Edgar, and Iago. Two very different vibes. Very different vibes. But I like both of them way more than this movie gave us so far. So I think that's been our playground pick'em. Jay, you want to toast this movie?
Yeah.
Come on,
have a
dude.
drink.
You have literally one job.
I'm gonna toast to the idea that even if you fail miserably. So there are movies that are worse than this, but the reason why I'm disappointed is because they didn't fail miserably. They didn't take a chance, and that's what upsets me about this. So if you are gonna fail, kids, do it just with all the flames and glory.
Wow, that's actually great advice. Good toast, man. I just said a toast to Edgar, who died doing what he loved, murdering cats for money, and a toast to us because we were not born as cats, and despite popular belief, everyone does not want to be a cat, and that is where it's at. So, cheers to you, Aristocats.
Well done.
All right, woof. No, meow.
Nice.
Anyways, I just want to re-thank our sponsor, Miners. Thanks for your work, especially some of the Chilean variety. We're here for you. Thanks for the sponsor. Also, big shout out to Ariel. You know, just because who knew, but we're still with you. Huge shout out to Ariel. And then that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Jay, what do we have next time?
We have Robin Hood, another Phil Harris, the trilogy of
Get
Phil Harris.
back in the studio.
Yeah, Low John.
I'm going to be honest.
Not that Low John.
This one's huge for me. I'm so excited for that one.
Very excited.
See us next time for Robin Hood. Thanks again for listening. That was Aristocats. Take it easy.